I was working night patrol in late December of 2018, covering a stretch of interstate that cuts through farmland and long empty fields. That part of the state gets brutally cold at night. No buildings, no windbreaks, nothing to stop the air from hitting you like a blade. Around 2:15 a.m., dispatch notified me of a stalled vehicle on the shoulder near exit 14. The caller was a passing trucker who said the car had been sitting there for a while with its hazards on, but he didn't see anyone inside when he drove past. I was only a few miles out, so I responded. When I approached the exit ramp, I saw the faint blink of hazard lights cutting through the snow. The weather had been turning ugly for hours, gusts of wind sweeping across the asphalt, thin sheets of powder sliding over the road like smoke. Most nights on that highway were predictable, but nights like this were the ones where routine things turned dangerous fast. I pulled up behind the stalled car, a dark gray Toyota Corolla. I gave dispatch the plate and stepped out of my cruiser. The cold hit instantly, sharp, heavy, the kind that makes your nostrils stick together for a second. My flashlight cut through the blowing snow as I approached the driver's side. Right away, something felt wrong. A woman was sitting in the driver's seat, upright, hands gripping the wheel, staring straight ahead. She wasn't moving, not even a blink. Her eyes looked fixed on a point far away, but her posture was tense, like she had frozen mid-thought. When my flashlight passed across her window, her eyes flicked toward the beam. She saw me. She reacted, but she didn't move anything except her eyes. I tapped on the window and asked if she was all right. No answer. I opened the door slowly. "Ma'am, are you injured? Can you hear me?" Her breathing was shallow, fast, uneven. The kind of breathing you hear from someone who's been sprinting or crying hard. Her coat was unzipped even though the cold inside the car was almost the same as outside. Her hands were trembling on the steering wheel. I radioed dispatch for EMS and backup. While waiting, I checked the interior. The engine wasn't running. Keys on the passenger seat. Hazards manually activated. Registration on the dashboard. Registered to a male owner, not her. I tried again. "Were you traveling with someone?" She didn't look at me. Instead, her eyes flicked toward the passenger side mirror. A small, precise movement. I angled my flashlight toward the mirror. It was pointed at the field beside the road, a flat stretch of snow and dead cornstalks disappearing into darkness. Nothing moved out there. Nothing stood out. Just empty cold. When I turned back, she whispered something. "He was just here." Her voice was barely audible, thin and shaky, like she was forcing the words out through a tight throat. Before I could ask more, my backup arrived. He approached from the passenger side and leaned down with his flashlight. "Do you see the back seat?" he whispered. I hadn't. I angled my light in. The fabric was smeared with something. Mud, dirt, maybe both. Dark streaks ground into the upholstery. Like someone had been sitting back there soaked in it. The floor mat was missing entirely, and the left rear door, unlike the others, was unlocked. My partner checked the trunk. Nothing inside except a jacket and a half-crushed water bottle. When EMS guided the woman out of the car, she clung to me with both hands. Hard, like she thought letting go meant something terrible would happen. Her head kept turning toward the field. "There was someone with me," she said. "He told me to keep driving. He told me to take the exit. He said we weren't safe on the road." I asked where he went. She didn't answer, just stared over my shoulder into the dark. While EMS evaluated her, I walked along the shoulder with my flashlight. Snow kept falling, and the wind pushed it into thin sheets across the asphalt. But I could still make out prints, barely visible, leading from the passenger side of the car toward the field. I followed them about 20 yards, and then they stopped, just ended. No turning around, no drifting off into lighter snow, no collapse or drag, just a clean stop, like the person making the prints disappeared mid-step. I radioed for K9. When they arrived, the dog tracked the scent from the car to the field, then circled repeatedly, whining, refused to go any farther. The woman eventually gave us a name, one that didn't match the registration. She said she picked up a man earlier in the night. Said he asked for a ride north. Said she didn't know him but felt like she needed to help. She said he barely spoke, sat directly behind her, told her when to turn, when to slow down, when to exit. She said his voice sounded wrong, like he was whispering and yelling at the same time. She said one moment he was in the back seat, and the next, he wasn't. We checked her background. Clean. No indications of drug use, mental crisis, or criminal behavior. But the Corolla? Reported stolen earlier that night, over 2 hours south. She insisted he gave her the keys. Security footage from a nearby gas station confirmed something disturbing. She got into the driver's seat alone. No one else was visible. She wasn't talking to anyone. She wasn't reacting to anyone. She just sat, started the car, and drove off. We searched the fields for 3 days. Drones, deputies, K9s? Nothing. Not a scrap of clothing, not a sign of anyone walking farther than those 20 yards. No physical evidence apart from the prints. The woman was released after psychiatric evaluation. No charges. But before she left, she asked me something, quietly. "Did you look in the mirror?" I asked her what she meant. She said, "Whenever he talked, he never looked at me. He only looked at the mirror, like he wasn't really behind me, like he was somewhere else." Later that night, curiosity got the better of me. I went to the impound lot, sat in the driver's seat of the Corolla, stared at the passenger side mirror. For a moment, just a fraction of a second, I thought I saw the reflection of someone crouched behind me. When I turned around, the seat was empty. I was working a residential patrol zone in early January a few years back. Most of the neighborhood was quiet. Older homes, retired couples, the occasional night shift worker coming or going. Around 11:45 p.m., dispatch told me a caller reported screaming coming from the house across the street. According to the caller, the screaming had stopped abruptly about 2 minutes before she called. She said she'd never heard anything like it before and was certain someone was being hurt in there. I was only a minute out, so I responded. The house was an older 2-story place with faded blue curtains in every window. The curtains stood out because the rest of the house looked neglected. Chipped paint, sagging porch, a mailbox hanging crooked on one screw. No lights inside. Not even the glow of a TV. I walked up to the front door and knocked firmly, announcing myself. No answer. I knocked again. Still nothing. The neighborhood was quiet. Too quiet. No movement inside the house, no shifting shadows, no footsteps. But something about the air around the place felt off. Heavy. I circled to the side windows with my flashlight. The blue curtains were drawn tight like someone had pinned them shut from the inside. I couldn't see an inch past them. When I pressed my ear to the glass, I thought I heard something faint, almost like someone breathing shallowly, close to the window. But when I knocked again, the sound vanished. Backup arrived, and we decided to clear the perimeter before forcing entry. While we walked the sides of the house, my partner pointed out something strange. Every window had those same identical blue curtains, same wrinkles, same placement. It looked unnatural, like someone had bought a dozen identical sets and hung them all in one day. We found no broken glass, no damaged locks, nothing indicating a break-in or struggle. Dispatch confirmed the homeowner was a 62-year-old man living alone. No history of violence, no medical conditions on file, no previous calls. We went back to the front door. My partner knocked once more. This time we heard movement. Not footsteps, more like something dragging across the floor. Slow, unsteady. "Police! Identify yourself!" I shouted. The dragging sound stopped immediately. We exchanged a look. My partner radioed dispatch for permission to force entry due to a possible medical emergency. We breached the door. The smell hit instantly. Stale air, cold dust, and something metallic underneath. The house was dark except for our flashlights cutting through the entryway. The living room looked frozen in time. Furniture covered in a thin film of dust. A coffee mug on the table with mold growing inside. A coat slumped over a chair like someone dropped it months ago, but no sign of anyone. We cleared the first floor slowly. Every step felt amplified in the silence. The kitchen was untouched. No dishes, no food, no signs of recent activity. The fridge was empty except for a single bottle of water lying on its side. When we opened the basement door, we both paused. The smell of cold earth drifted up like the house was breathing out. I swept my flashlight over the steps, dusty, undisturbed. No prints, no drag marks, no sign the noise we heard came from down there. We moved to the second floor. Each door was closed. Every hallway window covered by those same blue curtains, sealing out even the moonlight. The first bedroom was empty. Bed made. Nothing on the floor. Nothing out of place. The second bedroom was the same. Then we reached the third door, the last one at the end of the hall. Cold air seeped from the gap under it, much colder than the rest of the house. When I opened the door, my breath caught in my throat. The entire room, floor, walls, ceiling, was stripped bare. No carpet, no furniture, just wooden boards and the faint echo of our footsteps. But what stood out was the window. The blue curtains were missing. The rod was empty. And on the inside of the glass, smeared in long, uneven streaks, were handprints. Small ones, large ones, overlapping. As if several people had pressed against the window, desperately trying to see out. My partner whispered, "Where are they?" We swept the room again. No hiding places, no closets, no attic access, nothing. But then I noticed something. The dust. Everywhere else in the house, there were thick layers of dust. But in this one room, the dust was disturbed, dragged across the floor in wide arcs, like something heavy had been pushed repeatedly from one side to the other. Long streaks, low to the ground, moving toward the window. But no footprints, no shoe prints, no bare feet. Nothing that indicated a person had walked there recently. The dragging noise we heard earlier, it suddenly made sense. But there was nothing in the room to drag. We finished clearing the house top to bottom. No homeowner, no intruder. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Just a house full of drawn curtains and a single room where someone, or something, had tried desperately to look outside. As we were leaving, my partner stopped at the base of the stairs. "Did you move that?" he asked. I turned to look. One of the blue curtains, the ones that had been tightly drawn across the living room window, was now pulled open just an inch, just enough for someone inside the house to look out. But we had been with each other the entire time. Neither of us touched it. He took a picture for the report. I secured the door and placed a notice for the homeowner to contact us. He never did. County records showed he stopped paying utilities months earlier. A welfare check was conducted later that week. The house was still empty, still cold, still silent. All the curtains were drawn again, except the one in the third-floor room. The rod was still bare, but someone had placed a single blue curtain on the floor beneath the window, folded neatly, like it had just been taken down. Back in 2017, I was working as a deputy in a rural county where nothing much happened after dark. Most calls were noise complaints or the occasional drunk driver drifting back from the bars. But one night around 1 a.m., dispatch sent me to a storage facility off County Road 6. The caller was the property manager, who said one of the units had its light flickering on and off for the past half hour. The strange part, none of the units had internal power. When I pulled into the lot, the place looked deserted. Frost clung to the metal doors, and the wind kept rattling loose sheet metal along the fence. I stepped out and immediately noticed the flickering. Unit 117. A faint light pulsing irregularly from the narrow gap under the door. I radioed my arrival and walked over. The closer I got, the more uneasy I felt. Storage facilities are usually dead quiet at night, but there was a sound coming from inside 117, something like fabric shifting, dragging lightly across concrete. I knocked. "Sheriff's office. Anyone inside?" The light went out instantly. The sound stopped too. I tried the door, locked from the outside, padlock in place, untouched. I tugged on it to make sure, definitely locked. I stepped back and scanned the other units. All dark, all silent. Just that one had shown any sign of activity. The property manager arrived a few minutes later. He was still half asleep, but concerned. "That unit's been vacant since October," he said. "Nobody rents it. It shouldn't have anything in it." He unlocked the padlock for me. When I lifted the door, a blast of cold air rolled out, colder than the air outside. It smelled musty, damp, like wood that had been left underwater and never dried properly. I raised my flashlight. At first glance, the unit looked empty. No furniture, no boxes, nothing but concrete. Then I saw the light source. A battery lantern placed in the far left corner, still warm to the touch. The bulb flickered weakly like it was dying. There were footprints around it, messy, overlapping, like someone had been pacing in circles. Human footprints, bare feet. The manager whispered, "What the hell?" Before I could answer, we heard a faint thump from deeper inside the unit, behind the metal dividing wall. I moved forward with my flashlight raised and saw something I still don't understand. The back wall had a false panel. It was crude, plywood screwed in unevenly, but enough to create a space behind it. I pulled it aside. There was a second room hidden back there. A tiny makeshift living space, thin blanket on the floor, empty water bottles, a stack of newspapers, scratches on the concrete walls, hundreds of them, all at knee height, all the same length. And in the corner, tucked into a tight ball, was a man. He looked up at me with wide, sunken eyes. His hair was matted, his clothes were torn, and his feet were raw and bleeding. But he didn't try to run. He didn't yell. He just whispered, "Did they send you back?" I asked who he meant. He shook his head violently. "No, not you. The others. They come at night. They already took the others." His voice was hoarse, weak, like he had been talking to himself for days. As I approached, he pressed himself into the corner like he was trying to disappear into the wall. His breathing sped up. "Please," he said, "don't close the door. Don't trap me in here. That's when they come." He kept looking past me at the entrance of the unit, expecting someone, or something, to appear. I radioed for EMS. The manager stayed near the entrance, shaking his head in disbelief. When EMS arrived, they examined him and asked how long he had been living there. His answer made all of us pause, since the first one disappeared. We asked what he meant. He said several people, he called them the others, had lived in that hidden room with him. He said they shared food, kept each other warm, stayed quiet during the night. He said one by one, they went missing. "Always at night," he murmured. "Always when the light went out." The manager insisted nobody had ever rented the unit. No record of tenants, no sign of forced entry, no reports of missing people matching his description. But the man's fear was real. Every movement he made was frantic, instinctive, like he had been living in terror for months. EMS loaded him into the ambulance. Before they closed the doors, he grabbed my wrist. "They'll come back tonight," he whispered. "They always come back when someone finds us." I asked who he was talking about. He replied, "You'll see." After they took him away, I searched the hidden room again. This time I noticed something I missed earlier. On the wall behind where he'd been sitting, a fresh set of scratches. Deep, straight, still crumbling around the edges, made within the past few hours. There were 4 sets of them, parallel, like finger marks. But there was something worse. A fresh footprint in the dust, bare, small, the size of a child's foot, leading to the back corner. But only one. No return print. No second foot. Just one small print, pressed into the concrete as if someone stood there moments before we arrived. We searched the entire facility, every unit, every shadow. no sign of anyone else. The next morning, the property manager called me from the hospital. The man we found disappeared. Staff said he had been asleep, hooked to an IV. When they came to check on him at dawn, he was gone, clothes folded neatly on the bed. And in the corner of the room, under the windowsill, they found something else. A single fresh footprint. Small, bare, pressed into the tile, matching the one I found inside the storage unit.